Welcome to the Juggling the Chaos of Recovery podcast, where we focus on health and wellness and overcoming all types of addictions. You're in the right place if you're a mom, dad, sibling, or caregiver who has a loved one who is or was struggling with an eating disorder or any other kind of addiction. In a time where everything seems heavy, I'm here to bring you a very real, yet lighthearted take on what the heck we're all supposed to do with our lives while we care for our loved ones who are struggling. One thing holds true throughout it all. You can't juggle the chaos without smiling. At least a little bit. Hello and welcome to another episode of the podcast. This is your host, Moira Gorski, and I am here by myself. I know it's been a while and they seem to be few and far between the times that I get on the mic and record myself, but suffice it to say, I've been busy. I have a mother who's in failing health and a daughter who continues to struggle. So life is busy. And, I get my interviews and I love those interviews that I have. And I don't often enough get on the mic and record, but I really wanted to because so many of you say, I love when you come on and just do a solo episode. So here I am with another solo episode. And I've done something like this before. I've talked about this before. And I actually, right at the beginning of my podcast journey, I did a recording about start, stop, and continue. And then I thought it was really important to talk about again, but I didn't have time to record one. And so I just repeated that episode at the beginning of this year. But I have had some time to think about this, and I actually worked with, I've shared before that I'm in a women's circle group, and we did this exercise. We talked about this on our last time together, during our last time together, and it was really good. And so I made some notes, and I wanted to share that with you because I think you can do this anytime. You can do an exercise at the beginning of the year. You can really do it anytime. Many do it again when the year changes. And we were doing that again in our women's group to just talk about as we head into this new year. And so I think it's significant to share because I had some insights, and it's about, taking time to think from that day forward. What are you going to, if it's like for the next year, for the next month, what are you going to start? What are you going to stop? And what are you going to continue? And so what I want to share with you what I came up with as I shared this in my women's group. So when they talked about start, what are you going to start? The first thing I thought, because what I did was I kind of wrote down my initial feeling when Nancy said, let's talk about this. I wrote down my initial feeling, and then as I thought about it a little bit more, I thought about something different. And so when she first said start, and I thought about that, I was like, start? Like, I have so much going on. And I felt a little overwhelmed on that day. And I thought, I have to add something else? I have to start something by adding more to my plate. And that seemed really overwhelming to me. But then as I thought about it more, I know that when I am busy, which is often, how I do well during that time is that I do better planning, like I do intentional planning. And so that's what I wrote down and I talked about is that I'm going to start doing some better intentional planning. Even if it's the posting of my podcast, because I have several recordings that are in the bank, if you will. And so I can schedule them out and then they just post when it's time to post on that Friday or on Wednesday. And when I do that, I can look at the month. I've done this often, but not often enough. I'll look at the month and say, and I look at my recordings and say, what do I want to share this month? And who do I want to share about and what's important this month? And I will pick the podcast episodes and I will post them. Or in addition to that, I'll also think like, what else? Who else do I want to talk to? And I'll intentionally reach out to others and plan an interview for the next month or the next coming months. I also do that. I find that if I plan my social media postings within my wellness business, within my wellness page, I do better because it takes that load off. Sometimes it seems like it's overwhelming to me if I have to sit down for like an hour or two and plan, but that's all about time blocking and intentionally planning. And then it takes the weight off of having to worry like every day what's being posted and those type of things. I also find the same thing when I get busy. I want to make sure that I plan the things in that are important to me. So if it's my workouts, if it's my dance lessons, if it's dinner with my husband, if it's Sunday night dinner with my family, if it's a certain dinner I want to make for the month, when I intentionally plan, it feels better, and it makes sure that it gets done. Because we can put our priorities on things when we do that planning. We put the priorities to say, I want to make sure I plan this because I want to make sure that it gets done. And so that's what I'm going to start doing more of for this coming year. And then I thought about stop. What do I want to stop doing? And something that's really important to me that it bothers me when other people do this is when they interrupt me. And I don't like to be interrupted when I'm talking, and somebody cuts into the conversation. And I also believe that if we can model what we want. And so I wrote down that I wanted to stop interrupting. I know that often occasionally my husband will interrupt me, and that's bothersome to me. And so I am going to stop interrupting. But the second thing that I thought about there with stop is that I'm going to stop apologizing too. Because many times I have apologized for what I've said or who I am or what I'm trying to say and things like that. And I don't want to do that so much anymore because I am a unique person and I have a lot to offer the world, and I love to connect with others, and I know that I am different than others, and not everybody's going to, groove with me if you want. Not everybody's going to love what I'm doing, but there's lots of people that do. And so and I'm just speaking from, my own personal experience, that many times I've apologized because I felt embarrassed, or I thought, oh, not everybody likes that, and so I should just apologize. And, that's about that other person, and what they're thinking about me. And I need to be more intentional and just putting my best foot forward and stop apologizing for how other people react. And, of course, be respectful and have great manners and be a, professional person. But you know what I mean? It's like, I want to stop apologizing for being me, because I'm Moira Gorski, and I'm a retired nurse, and I'm a wellness coach, and I'm a podcaster, and I'm a ballroom dancer, and I'm a friend and a wife and a mother, and I'm me and unique. And I want to stop apologizing because I kind of put myself, I know you can't see me, but I'm putting my hand like I'm pressing down on my hand, because I feel like I'm stifling myself. And we can stifle ourselves when we apologize. Like, we want to let our light shine and let our light shine out into the world and have that influence and have that positive influence on other people. We don't want to apologize and stifle ourselves down. So I'm going to stop doing that. And then I'm going to continue to find my voice. I have been working on that for the last few years, and that kind of goes along with apologizing. I have found my voice, and it's been a journey for sure. And I found my voice in podcasting, and I'm really super proud of that. And I'm so grateful for all of you who come and listen and share this. So I'm going to continue to do that, find my voice. If it's in the space of a caregiver, the space of recovery, the space of addictions, the space of wellness, the space of health, dancing, pushing past your fear, whatever the case is, I'm going to continue to find my voice. And I can't remember, but I know that I've talked about my women's circle, again, that we worked on this exercise in. And at the beginning of the year, Nancy has us come up with kind of our intention for the year and putting away the story, putting away what story. And so this year, I am the possibility of truth. And I'm putting away the story that my voice doesn't matter. And so that goes right along with this, that I'm going to continue to find my voice. And because I know that when I speak up and when I share things, that I can have an influence. And I want you all to hear that we all can have an influence by sharing our voices and just finding our voice and sharing out there. I got a call from one of the gentlemen that I interviewed here, who's a dear friend of mine, Louis Sharp. And if you haven't listened to his podcast yet, I recommend that you go find it. It's quite an incredible story. He's one of the most positive people that I know, and he has quite a story of so much turmoil and in his past, and he has overcome that. And so it's a wonderful interview, and was so thankful to share that story. And he called me a couple of days ago, intentionally reached out to me and told me that my voice matters, and shared a story about somebody that heard his podcast and called him. And now he has the opportunity to help somebody else because of that. So it really meant a lot to me that he reached out and, again, shared how impactful this podcast is being, because I think sometimes I'm not sure that my voice does matter, but it was so helpful to hear that. And it just gave me more, reason to continue to find my voice. But I also put in there, I want to continue to walk and to take yoga, because something that I really have done a lot of in COVID is gone out and walked. Either walked by myself or I called a friend, and when we had to be, we were safe across the street and stuff like that from each other while we were walking. But I have really, really enjoyed that. Just staying connected with my friends and just staying connected with walking and with nature. And it's made such a, it just continues to make an impact on my health, and I know how important it is. So I'm going to continue to do that, continue to walk and move. We just all need to continue to move our body, because it's so helpful for our health. I mean, they say 20 minutes a day, and I say just get out there and do something every day to keep yourself moving. And then I recently went back to the yoga studio. Again, so much of us, we've had to stop going to our health clubs or our yoga places and our favorite restaurants and things like that. And one of my favorite yoga studios in town has opened back up with some safe restrictions. And as much as I've done yoga here, I was like, was longing for that warm, hot studio, because it does my body good. And it's just also really good mentally for me, and just kind of dark and, warm. I just love it. And so I went bought a 10-pack of classes, and I went back to yoga. And oh my gosh, that first class, I was sweating and I was crying, and it was just it felt so good to be back there. And so I've committed to continuing to go back to yoga, because again, it's so great for my body, so great for my flexibility, but it's so great for my mental and emotional well-being. And if you haven't tried yoga yet, I encourage you to do that. Just like I've shared about dance, it's not just about learning the dance steps. It's about what I'm learning about myself along the way. And I find that yoga is really similar in that it's not just about knowing how to do the yoga poses. It's like what you learn while you're trying to do that, while you're trying to hold that pose when you're balancing yourself or things like that. It's so much more than, just doing, forward fold in yoga, or your, chaturangas or things like that. It's so much more. And so I encourage you to try that out if you haven't. There's a downward, I think it's called Downward Dog. It's an app that you can do things. You can do yoga on an app. But I also encourage you, if you haven't tried yoga before, find a good studio that has a beginner class and go in and get that instruction, because that's how I learned, through a wonderful instructor friend, Laura Nosek, who again has a great podcast interview here during this last year. Wonderful friend and wonderful story that she shares about filling up your empty space only that God could fill. It's really a beautiful interview, but she taught me a lot about yoga. She was there really helping me, making sure I was doing the poses correctly and things like that. So I do encourage you to find, especially when you're trying something new, find somebody that's an expert that can help you. So those are the things, start, stop, and continue, that I thought about and that I'm committing to for this coming year, for the rest of the year. And I look forward to, as time changes and we come into the next year and things like that, what it's going to be at that point. But I encourage you to think about that. Like, what would you want to start doing? What do you want to stop doing? And what is so good that you want to continue on with that? Because I think it's just so, so good. And really take that time to sit down and think about it. I remember a yoga practice that I went to that was kind of at the beginning of a new year several years ago. They talked about like cleaning out your closet. She read some type of, a poem or a verse or something like that. And she talked about, how we can clean out our closets. And it was really interesting. I remember it, even though it was probably 6-7 years ago, but she talked about cleaning out your closet. Like when you go in there, like if you were going to clean out your closet, you look and you see some things that don't belong there and you remove them. You take some things that are in the back that you forgot that you had and you bring them up to the front, right? Because you want to use those. You shuffle things around and you sort things out, and it makes a little bit more sense when maybe you color code your color coordinate your shirts or your pants or your dresses or things like that, or put your dresses where they can hang better, or your pants over here, or fold up your jeans or whatever the case is. But it really was a really cool metaphor for life, like how we can do something kind of like this, how you can start, stop, and continue, or clean out your closet, or think about that with like just how are you going to clean out your closet? And then just, it's kind of though your closet, your life. Like, are there things that need to be removed from there, that you just don't use anymore? There isn't any value in it anymore. So you're going to maybe throw them out. Maybe you're going to give it away. Maybe there's things that you forgot about that you love or that you have, values that you have, maybe things that you put away. Like I think about my dance, I have some creativity there. I have some gifts there. And I kind of put them away for a while because I was so busy with life. And so I brought those to the forefront, and I'm working on those and learning to appreciate dance. And that's kind of how we do. Again, we find something in the back of our closet and we're like, wow, I forgot about that. So I'm going to bring it up here so I don't forget about it anymore. Just sorting through things, finding things that have value that maybe you forgot about. And maybe you're going to bring something new into your closet of life, if you will. And sometimes, just like if you buy, I don't know if you do this, but like if I buy any new clothes, I try to take, like if I buy 3 new tops, I try to remove 3 tops because inevitably there's something in there that I'm not wearing. And so I don't know, I just learned that a while ago that when we put something new in the closet, we should take something old out. So sometimes we do need to do that. We need to remove some things from our life if we're going to add something new. It might be some activities that we're a part of. Maybe it's some people. Maybe it's some relationships and things that just don't serve you anymore. And so, again, I encourage you to think about that as you clean through your closet. Think about setting some boundaries for you and really what's important for you. And don't be afraid of that. Again, don't apologize for who you are, for wanting to set those boundaries, because boundaries is how we can help people know how to treat us, right? And I just encourage you to continue to be authentic, knowing that you are the author of your life, and you are the one that can write those words. And if you don't like what your story is saying, your story of life, then change it. You have the ability, you have the choice. You can do that. And I'll close by a saying that Nancy shared with us too, which I thought was so appropriate, and appropriate for certainly my word of the year of being truth. She said, "I will believe the truth about myself regardless of how beautiful it is." Think about that. I will believe the truth about myself regardless of how beautiful it is. Sometimes other people tell us so many great things, so many truths about ourselves, and we just don't want to believe it, right? I've been there. We can have an imposter syndrome. We can, whatever you want to call it. but we don't see the beauty in ourselves. Sometimes the beauty in ourselves scares us. Sometimes we just don't want to see it. We just don't want to accept it. We don't want to be that wonderful, authentic, beautiful person. But I encourage you to think about that. Write it down in your mirror if you need to. I know that I have it sitting here on a little Post-it note in front of me. But it is, I will believe the truth about myself regardless of how beautiful it is. So I leave you today, another solo episode. I would love to hear from you, what you're starting, stopping, and continuing. And know that it's never too late to start taking care of yourself. There's been so much talk this last year about control and things that we can't do, and now they're telling us this, and now they're telling us that, and what we can't do. I encourage you to think about, we do have things that we can control. We can take control of certain things, and I encourage you to, and I encourage you to think about your health. The things that you're doing, how much you're moving, what you're choosing to eat, how you're choosing to take care of yourself, because that is what you can control. And who you surround yourself with, those are all things that you can take control of. And things can get us down, and we can get frustrated with the world and mandates and things like that. But again, we can control. We have lots of things that we can take control of in a good way. And so I encourage you to do that. Do know that my services are free. If you want to reach out and have a session with me, just talk about how you can find your voice and how you can put yourself first, if it's in health or sharing your story or finding a journey into entrepreneurship that can give you purpose. I mean, I've done all of that. I live in that world, and I would love to talk with you about that and how I can serve you in that, to help you find your way in that. Do know, if you look in the show notes, I have created some merchandise through Redbubble that you can find a Journey to Joy journal. You can find some really cool sweatshirts that have the logo of this podcast on, or just the lady that's in the logo. If you look at the logo, the woman that's sitting down juggling hearts. I'm starting to create some merchandise there. I put the artwork there, and so you can grab a journal or a sticker for your laptop, or a mug with that on, and that continues to support this podcast as well. I just again really sit in a place of gratitude for all of you that come back to listen, and those are just some things that I'm gonna continue to look at to help get the message out about this podcast, and ways that you can continue to support it. So thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great day. Go do something great for yourself today. I feel good about that. Reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you, and make it a great day. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks for listening. If you like this podcast, head over to iTunes and leave me a 5-star review. Share it with others, and make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. I've got a tribe over on Facebook, so head over there and search for Juggling the Chaos of Recovery Podcast Tribe. And do you know somebody who has a story to share, a story of recovery and hope? Please let me know, as I'd love to feature them as a guest on one of these next upcoming podcasts. And perhaps you're looking for a community of like-minded, collaborative, and supportive people who cheer each other on as we strive to improve our lives. If that sounds like something you've been looking for, schedule some time with me. You'll find the links in the show notes. Let's talk, and let me help you find your way. And I'm here to tell you that you're worth it.